Hey, welcome to the Profit Builder video series. I'm Vicki Suter, your host, and I'm the author of the book, The Profit Bleed, How Managing Margin Can Save Your Contracting Business. And these videos are all about helping you grow a more sustainably successful contracting business. And for over 25 years, I've been helping contractors increase their profits, generate more time in their day, and reclaim and refine the joy in what they do again. And that's what this video series is all about. And my goal is to help give you the thinking to be able to understand how to do that in your business. And then I actually give you tools and resources that help you implement what it is the video is talking about. So I hope you enjoy today's Profit Builder video. Today, I am super excited to have my guest, Dominic Rubino, with me with the Profit Tool Belt. And Dominic is an expert on communication. And today's topic is going to be about how do you have hard conversations with people. And, you know, when we started talking, I love this topic because I talk with people all the time about the importance of building trust and relationships by having that ability to be able to have hard conversations with people and to be able to build a culture where honesty and trust is built based on being able to have open dialogues in a way that's not confrontational and not affrontive with each other. And that's exactly one of the things that Dominic is an expert on. So I'm super excited to have him here as a guest with me today. So Dominic, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Vicki. It's great to be on your show.
Yeah, so before we launch in, would you just tell people a little bit about your background and who you are, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Sure. Well, I'm a business coach, but I come about being a business coach in a very long way. I'm actually an entrepreneur that went and learned business coaching because I had a bunch of failing businesses I needed to turn around. And through that time, I've learned a couple of really neat things I've applied to my own businesses. And this tool that we're going to talk about today is one of them.
Cool. Nice. And you specialize in working with contractors, yes?
That's right. I work with trades contractors. So some of your listeners might listen to my show as well called Profit Tool Belt. And I have another show. It's got a very specific name, Cabinet Maker Profit System. And in both of those, I speak to different trades contractors.
Great. Great. And for those of you listening, make sure to check out his podcasts. They're awesome. He has a lot of really great quality information on them. Well, so let's jump in. You know, I'm going to start with, let's talk about it. Like, how do you have those hard conversations with people that you need to have? What's a thinking that you have about that, and how to have people get past that, like that discomfort of it and that fear of getting into a conflict with somebody?
Yeah, well, I've been in those situations as a coach. I've worked with lots of high-level CEOs and executives and business owners. And what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee. You can't unsee it. And the tool comes from, well, let me back up for a second. Imagine the most stressful type of difficult conversation you might need to have. And then imagine having that conversation with the public. Because this tool that I learned, it's actually a really simple formula. It's a 4-step formula, very easy. But I learned it from disaster PR consultants. You know, the specialists that get called in when something goes really bad at a company and they have to address the media and address the public. That's the thing I'm going to show you. And it's really, once you know it, it's a simple tool.
Okay, so tell us, what's the tool?
What's the tool? Well, so for those of you that want to look it up afterwards or online, look it up. It's called Glacier's Formula for Change. That's the boring way to talk about it. We talk about it as the formula for change, and it's only made up of 4 things. So for people taking notes, I'll talk about this a couple different times. So what we do is we say dissatisfaction times vision plus first steps has to overcome resistance, because we know the person that we're speaking to about this difficult topic is going to have some resistance. The difficult topic in your company and my company is always different, right? We have to change somebody's holiday schedule. We have to move their office. You know, they no longer have a corner office with 2 windows. We're going to put them in a cubicle in the middle. But it could be something even larger where you're talking to a vendor or a client about a really big change that you need to make, and you know there's going to be a little bit of feedback.
So as I'm listening to you too, so some things that come to mind for me is you have an employee who's not performing
Hmm.
and you have to have a difficult conversation with them, or somebody is being inappropriate, you have to have a difficult conversation with them. Or I like what you just said too, is you have a client who's got a change order and you're having to go to them and have that conversation about change in scope and price of their contract, which
Hmm.
for many people is a difficult conversation.
Very difficult. And of course, as you know, Vicky, we don't want to actually pick up the contract and start pointing to it, do we?
Yeah, right.
No, that's the end of the world once we
Yeah.
start doing that, right? Yeah. So what we do is we need to understand how to say what we're going to say in a formula. And so the formula makes it sound boring, but it's really the outline of a script. So
Yeah,
first,
I like that idea, because I always think formulas are the thing that makes it like, if I have it's sort of like having a strategy. If I have like a step by step, then it is a little less overwhelming or daunting. So yeah, go ahead, tell
yeah.
us what that is.
Yeah. So imagine it's a path, right? And there's stepping stones on the path. So there's only 4 stepping stones. As long as you hit all of them, you'll overcome resistance. But like any formula, if any of my pieces equals 0, like if I don't make my case in either of the 3 pieces I have to do, I'm not going to be able to overcome resistance on the part of the other person. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
so you're saying if you follow the formula will allow you to have more comfort in having the conversation, but will also allow you to get past the resistance that other person's going to have, which makes it so that it doesn't become like a conflict.
right. And so we're blending logic and emotion. And you'll see what I mean. I'll do an example for you, and maybe we'll use the change order example in a fictitious company, and you and I can talk it through. But I have to understand what your dissatisfaction is, and we have to share that dissatisfaction. And then I have to paint you a picture of a vision of what it could look like in the future. And then I also have to provide some first steps. Like, here's the solution.
So when you're saying the steps are, first understand the other person's perspective, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So in the case of a change order, understand the customer's perspective.
Right. But in a dissatisfaction way, something we're both not happy with.
Because dissatisfaction is the thing that prompts us to make change.
And to pay it. That's right. Yeah.
Not and literally make change, not just change order change. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So understand the dissatisfaction is the first step.
Right.
Understand what the words you use different words. I think of desired state, but what's the desired outcome?
Right. The vision. Where are we working towards? What's the bigger picture?
Okay. So step number 1, dissatisfaction. Step number 1 is the outcome. Step number 3 is
first steps. What are we going to do about this? What are my suggestions?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say that's the formula, or those are the steps, those are the first 3 steps that you want to consider when you're looking at doing, having a difficult conversation with somebody.
That's right.
Okay. Before we model this, because I think that's a great idea, what's the 4th step?
Well, the 4th step is actually on the other person's side, or the listener's side, and that's resistance. We have to overcome, or we have to be able to overcome, the other person's resistance. So we anticipate resistance. And so on our side, we do everything we can to make sure that we've outlined our steps in a logical way that helps them overcome their resistance.
Okay.
You want me to do an example for you?
Yeah, let's do an example. I think that would be super helpful.
Do you mind if I ask what town you're in?
Novato, California.
Novato. Do you have a stadium there?
It's a small town.
I know. Do you have a stadium in that town?
Well, there's not a stadium in this town.
Okay. Does your town need a stadium?
No.
Oh, let's think of a town near you that needs a stadium, because I'm going to do this example. I'm a developer and we need to build a stadium, but we have to get rid of all these pesky low-income apartments first. You see, what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee. As soon as you're done listening to this interview between Vicky and I, the people in the audience are going to go hear it on the news, or they're going to listen to a CEO talking, and they're going to go, oh, Vicky and Dom were just talking about this. This person is doing exactly what we talked about.
Okay, so this is interesting because you just hit on, so I live in California. I live in Northern California. You probably just hit on people's like little soft spot of you're going to get rid of low income housing. We're trying to figure out how to add more low income housing,
That's
not
right.
get rid of low income housing.
Right. And you can see how that's a difficult conversation.
Oh, heck yes.
But how do they build stadiums all across the country all the time when all they're doing, you have to displace something to build that stadium?
So, all right, I'm gonna play along, but actually I'm gonna ask that we can dial it back to like a everyday situation. But
Sure.
we haven't gone through the process yet. So I'll play along. So let's say it's in Santa Rosa that we want to put in Santa Rosa is growing in Santa Rosa, which is a town just a couple towns north of me, and it's growing rapidly, and they might be a candidate for a stadium.
Is it a baseball stadium, a football?
Let's say a baseball stadium.
Baseball stadium. Okay. So now pretend I'm the developer and I have an interview on the news. And so you're going to see me outline the dissatisfaction. You're going to see me outline the vision, and then you're going to hear me suggest some first steps. Now, does this overcome all of the resistance? No, but it moves towards overcoming that resistance by putting all the logic and emotion on the table at once.
Okay.
Okay, you ready for this?
Ready.
And sorry, the name of the city again, let me write it down.
Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa. Okay. Hey, Vicky, you know how here in Santa Rosa, we've always wanted to be a bigger player in the state?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, all of our best athletes end up leaving because they can't get good opportunities to play baseball here.
Yes.
Parents are driving hours just to get their kids into higher level baseball. Of course, we're losing all the economic impact, and it really is having a negative effect on our ability to grow and develop as a community. Right? You're nodding, but they won't hear that on the podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
I'm nodding because I'm thinking to myself, is that true? I'll say I'm not sure. Maybe, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so maybe it's true. And for some people it will be, right? They understand baseball and they know. So we've been working very hard with the city about some plans to actually bring a stadium here to Santa Rosa. A stadium that'll not only house junior baseball, but also some other teams that will come through and tour and play games here. We need to have obviously ample parking. We need to have a state-of-the-art facility, probably some conference facilities, and it's really going to rejuvenate the part of town we plan to put this in. It's going to take a lot of work, but it's also the impact on our community over the long term is really going to be immense. So a couple things we need to do is first, we have to find the right place to put this. There's going to have to be some city rezoning that happens, and we're going to have to shuffle things around and look at our city in a different way, not the way we live today, but the way we want to live as a community in the future. So I'll stop right there. That is dissatisfaction, vision, and first steps, without talking about those pesky low-income homes over in such and such part of town, or that swampland that we want to drain, which has beautiful ducks and great fishing, by the way. I would be against that. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. So as I listen to you, one of the things that when I'm working with people, and when I think about, based on my training, when I think about what are always the two most important steps before you attempt to get into action about anything, is to be super clear about where you're starting out, and then be super clear about where you want to go before you start changing how it is. And one of the things I appreciate about your words of dissatisfaction is that it is dissatisfaction that motivates any of us to change or do something different. Like whether there's a breakdown, there's something that's not working, there's a highly desired state that's unfulfilled, which you just touched on a couple of those. I'm kind of recapitulating this in a way that I think makes sense to me, just so that making sure that I understand what you're saying. But it's like, if I'm hearing you right, it's like which is great, you're addressing it at the level of where somebody is, and illuminating a problem, and then illuminating a desire to have that problem resolved in a way that can bring about the desired result that we want, or desired whatever it is that we want. And then you added like, what's the one next step, which is awesome. So those are the 3 steps. Can we do this at the level of, let's say, a change order? Can you give that example? Because I like that example of a change order. And I just think it's one that, like, that's a little closer to home to most of the people who are going to be listening to this.
Yeah. And can I just add that I feel really bad giving that example of knocking over high rise or, low end. Saying it, I feel really cheesy. But I want to be, in the language of coaches and trainers that we are, I'm overcorrecting. I'm showing like the extreme version.
Yeah.
But you know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to stop listening to this show, go turn on the radio, and they're going to hear the same message. And they'll go, I know what they're doing to me.
I know what they're doing. Yeah, no, I appreciate you really pointing that out. Because it's super useful. And, the other thing that is, I'm listening to you, Dom, that I think is important for people to understand is that, and you said this at the beginning, whether you're having a conversation with a customer, you're having a conversation with an employee, you're having a conversation in a sales situation, you're having a conversation with your family, if there's something that you want to have be different, this formula is a really great way to have those conversations that open up possibility and open up communication, as opposed to, you're just talking about, this is the way I see it, that's the way you see it,
right.
as opposed to bringing that tension to it. Yeah, and I also appreciate. I'm gonna let you keep going, but I also appreciate the first step being that understanding the dissatisfaction. It's not really a manipulation. It's just, it is actually get on that person's map of their reality of how it actually is, so that because it's a way for you both to get on the same page.
Right.
Yeah.
Just understanding that we're trying to open up a conversation, just like you outlined, and not have it be heads butting right from the beginning. I want this and they want that. I have to approach it from a bigger place and draw that vision.
Yeah, great.
So, Do you want to be the general contractor working with me, the subcontractor, on building something, and we'll talk about a change order that we need?
Sure. And let's do that. And then I want to do an example of with an employee.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Cool.
So
all right.
What do you want to be the GC of?
I'm the general contractor.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get a change
and
order.
You're the subcontractor.
Yeah, and there's some problem in this order, so we've got to have a difficult conversation. So could we just say you're building a courthouse or building a
let's say that I'm building a high-end home. I'm doing a major renovation of a high-end home.
Right, and I'm the cabinet guy or the pool guy, or
let's say that you're the painter.
Oh, I've been the painter before.
Me too. That's how I got started in the contracting industry.
Oh, that's right. You and I both have a background with painting companies. I forgot. Yeah. All right, Vicki. So you're the GC. I'm the painting subcontractor. We need a change order to get this job done. Okay, I've got to get this in my head. So I'm going to have to make a couple of assumptions here to make the situation come true, but allow those if you don't mind, so that we get to the point where I'm trying to overcome your resistance as the general contractor to approve a change order that needs to be done.
Great.
Sound good?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Vicki, it's Dom. How are you?
Hey, great, Dom. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Things are crazy here. Things are crazy here, as you know. I mean, we've had all these floods that came after the fires here in California. It's knocked this construction schedule way off into a weird place, hasn't it?
Yep, you're telling me.
Yeah, and I mean, you're only talking to me right now, but how many sub-trades do you deal with on this house?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
65 or something when you do the math at the end of it?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I can just tell you it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm having conversations with people every day, just it's like herding cats.
Like herding cats, but also we need to get this thing done so this family can get in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And is there a lot of pressure from them to get in, or do they have no time urgency at all?
Are you kidding me?
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't kidding. I thought maybe this was
No.
the one time in the world where a unicorn was moving into a house.
Yeah, maybe. No, you're hearing it too. I mean, we're getting slammed from all ends of these people who are constantly, when are their house going to be done? They've been displaced, right? They don't have any place to live. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The we're in that same situation, and we've been on site every day. And one of the things that I see is I want to get this house done and wrapped up. As you can see, we've had lots of quality control checks. I always have my foreman do a QC check and email you that every Friday. Have you been getting those?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. I'm glad that's happening. One of the challenges that we have on getting this place done is that the garage wasn't originally supposed to have a vaulted roof, and now it does. So it was supposed to be just a flat roof at about 10 feet, and now it's got a vaulted ceiling, which looks stunning. But I don't know who drew that. It was great.
Yeah, it was one of my team members.
Oh, yeah. Really nice open beams and things like that. The challenge is it wasn't inside the original scope of the project. And that would be the exact example of a change order on a job like this. Is the family aware of that? And if not, how do we make that happen?
Yeah, we changed it when we gave them the final drawings and the final sign off. And I'm pretty sure we sent it to you guys.
We don't have any change order paperwork. I want to do that because we're already on site, but it is going to need a change order because, of course, the equipment just to do that vaulted ceiling is so much different. Scaffolding, obviously more material, paint and things like that, but also just keeping our staff there because that's going to take an additional, probably only a day and a half because I'll leave my top people on that site. But it is a day and a half extra of labor. The material is what the material is. Anybody would have that expense. But then we also need some other scaffolding just to get up there.
Okay, what's it going to cost, Dom?
Well, it's and I've already put the price together and I emailed it to you a few minutes ago. It's just an extension of the existing pricing. And I did that so that the homeowners would be able to understand. I didn't want to put you in a tough position. It's an extension of the existing pricing, so it's easy math for them to understand. However, as you know, we need that signed off so I know that I'm going to be able to pay my guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's stop there before we get into the negotiation part.
Yeah.
But that's a way to enter into a difficult conversation in a conversational way.
Yeah. So here's what was interesting it's like I was really putting myself in the position of any one of my clients, right, who would be getting that phone call from a subcontractor. And one of the things that I noticed as a result of listening to you in the first part of the conversation, that when you got to the second part of the conversation, I absolutely had less resistance to when you started talking about the change order. So that first two steps of the dissatisfaction, right? And getting on my map of reality. And the second piece of it of outlining what's the desired outcome or desired result. You created an opening for me. And I'm just telling you how it felt over here. This isn't made up. This is just Dom and you and I doing this on the fly here. And it was interesting. So it works. That whole thing of doing those two pieces. Nice.
Yeah. And you could still come back and say, no, that's what general contractors do. But I have to, if I'm trying to get a win-win, I've got to put my best foot forward. And all it takes is following this script.
Yeah. One of the other things that I appreciated too is that you were prepared, right? You were prepared. You had the information. You weren't making more work for me. And that you had an appreciation for what was going on. You knew why there was going to be a change. So there's also that element of it, that specificity I couldn't really argue with.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a
Painter
listening right now who is going to say, oh my God, I have to rewind and write down that whole conversation.
Well, yeah. So let's do, that's the first three things, right? So it was dissatisfaction, desired result, and then what's the next step? So there's a fourth piece to this.
The fourth piece is actually the resistance on the part of, in this case, you as the general contractor. I know that I'm trying to overcome the resistance of the person I'm speaking to. So not that you're passive in this, but I can only control what I can control, and I can control the conversation or the logic and emotion, right? Those are the two things that make all decisions, logic and emotion. It's why you get married. It's why you get divorced. It's why you buy apples or why you buy bananas. It's logic and emotion at the same time.
So part of, am I hearing you right, that you do the first 3 steps, and what you've done is you've taken some of the friction out of the objection conversation.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So so without going into a long, deep thing, and because I do want to do an example of an employee right now, with the 4th piece in overcoming objection, is there some tips that you have about that?
I think the tips are the things we would learn from any good negotiation is at a certain point, I have to stop talking and start listening. And so I need to really listen to what you have to say, because you will have an opinion. You will have concerns that I haven't taken into account. You will have pressures that we haven't taken into account. And that is another part of the conversation, because that's the resistance. What I'm trying to do on our side, dissatisfaction, vision, and first steps, is give you all of the ammunition you need in your mind to have a reasonable look at this problem. Because if I just come at you and say, look, we need a change order, we're not doing that vaulted ceiling, that's automatic fight. All of that up a fight.
Right. So I think about extending that conversation to the point of where you, like if I'm, me as a general might come back to you and go, hey, Dom, these guys have just been like on me, like white on rice, about making sure that I stay to that price, and they're at their maximum and their insurance isn't paying anymore. I can't afford that. I could see you coming back as a subcontractor saying, how do you want me to handle this? Because it's going to cost me money. And that goes right into my profits. You appreciate, just like you, I'm in the for-profit business. And that was not in the original scope. That wasn't in the set of plans that we got. So the scope changed. How do you want to handle this? Right. Like it's a way of being able to turn the conversation back around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's talk about an employee. So let's use, thank you. This is great. This is really good stuff. Let's talk about if it's an employee.
All right, lay out a situation. Hit me. What do you got?
Okay, so I'm a project manager. Let's say I'm a carpenter. So I'm a carpenter, and I am not getting done what it is that I said I was going to get done on the job site on a pretty regular basis. I'm a little bit short on getting done what needs to be done each day, and it's causing a delay in the schedule and things to get behind, and the rest of the crew is being held back from being able to get their job done.
Right. We can't get the next trade in behind you because you're behind on your piece.
Right.
And is it, we're both in the same company? Like you work for me in this case?
I work for you.
Yeah. Okay. So my goal, I'm just clarifying, my goal is I need to get you finished or working faster.
You need to get me working faster and you need to get me working faster and keeping my agreement about getting a certain amount done every day.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Vicky, how are you?
Hey, Dom. All right.
Good. I know you're busy. How long have you been on this job site?
I've been on this job site for months now. And I got to tell you, I can't wait for it to be done.
I know. It feels like you just need to park a camper outside. Plus, how long of a drive is this place for you?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes each way.
Yeah. The rest of the crew's already moved to that site closer to the office.
Yeah. There's just no way. I mean, I got my kids in the school, and
it's hard. Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about you and worried about you a little bit, right? Because it seems like this job's dragging, and you show up every day to do your thing, but we still have to get out of this job. The next crew is coming in behind us. You've done a great job in all the carpentry you've done, but I'm wondering how you and I can figure out a way to be done this job. We still need to hit all our parameters, and it still has to pass inspection, but it seems like it's taking longer than both you and I thought. What is it that you could change on your side to make this job go quicker so we can get you onto the other job site?
And I don't know, I'm coming in and I'm doing my work every day. I'm just super focused and, I'm doing the best I can.
Oh yeah, I know you're doing the best you can. Matter of fact, I think sometimes you might be a little too conscientious. I was joking with the site super on this one, and the engineer's drawings called for something, and you built it in a way that you thought was better. But you know what the city's like here; they have their own craziness. If I could make a suggestion to you, because I've seen this before in this town, just do what their engineer says, and all the inspections will pass. But if not, we're going to be here forever. And once those guys have their eyes on us, those inspectors, they just like to dig in their teeth, and they just buy a coffee and stand over our shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say just build to the plans.
Well, I'm trying, man. I just you want me to do a shoddy job?
No, no, you never do shoddy work. That's no, and today wouldn't be the day to start, right? That's not why you're on the crew.
No, it's not. I don't do that.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, we're only off by how many hours do you think it would take to change to be done on this job?
I don't know, probably 4 more days.
4 more days. And we've got 2 days budgeted. So how do we make up that extra 2 days?
Well, if you could give me some more help, I can get it done in 2 days.
What kind of help do you need?
I need somebody with good carpentry skills. I don't need one of those laborers who, is just a cleanup guy. I need somebody who's really can do carpentry, who can come in and maybe come in, after like I do the first part, they do the second part. I could get a lot more done then.
Yeah, if you had a senior guy. Let me confirm something. You've got all the materials on site that you need. We're not running back and forth to the hardware store.
But yeah, probably not.
What else do you need?
Well, I got a whole list of stuff I still got to get.
Can you write that down for me before I leave job site today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's get that in your hands. I mean, that alone probably saves you time. Have you been running over to Lowe's or Home Depot to get the goods yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Well, I mean, who else is going to do it? Yeah.
Call me. Mobile phones. Right. So what I'll do, Vicky, is I'll stop here for us. You can tell in this conversation we're into solutions part, but
Yeah.
working together, it's not an antagonistic thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm viewing you as a valued carpenter, and in today's labor market, we got to keep the people we've got. And if you're a good carpenter, I've got to keep you.
Yeah.
So, but did that outline for you that D times V plus first steps has to overcome your resistance?
Yeah, it did. So you met me with, so it's there's another expression that I often in my training I've heard, it's like pace, lead. It's that thing of start with where somebody is, acknowledge where they are, acknowledge how it is with them. And, and you could tell for anybody who's watching or listening, there was a little bit of, this was Dom and I being, on the fly role playing here. But when you're dealing with somebody who's on your team, I could see there's just such value in being able to meet them where they are, acknowledge where they are, and acknowledge what might be some challenges that they're facing in how it is now, before you then go to the next step, which is to talk about, well, how could it be? So I appreciated both of those pieces. And then the other thing that I like that you did that I think, is a takeaway from this too, is asking, well, how can you get it done versus what do you have to be doing differently? So it's a different orientation, because you started to ask, how do I be different? And I'm like, I don't know how to be different.
Yeah.
But when you ask the question from the place of how can you, now my brain went into solution, as opposed to having to figure out how I've got to change, in which case I just noticed I was more resistant. So super helpful that because then that led into the piece about being in solution, right? About how to do that.
And let's get it done together.
Yes.
Right? Let's get it done together.
Yeah. Nice. Great. I love this formula. So would you just, for our listeners, recap the formula?
Sure. So it's dissatisfaction times vision plus first steps has to overcome resistance. And so that's that little greater than, less than sign. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what, Vicki, if anybody wants this, they can email me, or I've got, there's multiple ways to find me online. I'm happy to share it with them.
Well, you have a tool you're going to share with people, yes?
Yeah, I mean, this piece that we're talking about here is actually inside something else that I talk about a lot, which is for trade contractors, how to find and fix the 8 profit leaks in your construction business. So this is all we're talking about is a piece of something else that I often teach. So if anybody wants that, it's a free download they can get from my website, and they
Okay.
can email me for that.
Great. And we're going to put a link in the show notes here
Perfect.
and in the video for
Yeah.
where people can get that. And we'll put the link for the download directly within our blog post and attached to the video as well. And Dom, can you give people your email address in case they want to reach out to you?
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. So it's DR. I'm not a doctor. It's just Dominic Rubino. So dr@bizstratplan.com. So that's bizstratplan.com.
Great.
And of course,
Okay.
they can always go back to your website, look in your show notes. If you put that link there, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll for sure do that. Well, Dominic, thank you. This has been awesome. I hope that everybody listening here today takes away this formula and try it out for yourself, because and just the examples that Dominic just gave, we face those kind of challenges with conversations with people that are difficult, whether it's dealing with an employee, dealing with a subcontractor, or a client, or a prospective city council, right? So that ability to be able to use that formula makes it easier for us to be able to overcome those challenging conversations or find a way to ease our way into it so that we can get a better result with people. So thanks, Dominic. I really appreciate your time, appreciate you sharing with our listeners, and we'll see you all next time on The Profit Builder. I hope you found this week's video to be helpful. I encourage you to make sure to download the free resource that I offer at the end of the video. I think you'll find it will really help you implement the learning from what has been shared in this video. And my passion in life is helping contractors build more sustainably successful businesses, increase their profitability, reclaim their time, and find more joy in what they do again. So if you found this video helpful, would you just share it with a friend? Thanks. I look forward to seeing you next time on The Profit Builder.